Hello, everyone. I hope you are all well. How is your evening? I would like to introduce you all into our interview series. My name is Anne Karen. I'm the moderator of this interview. In the meeting, we have Kyle and Annie. They'll be discussing about global customs. Guys, can you feel free to talk about anything, ask any questions so that it can be as much as engaging as it can, okay? You can go ahead, Annie.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Aunt Karen, for introducing this. This is such an honor. It's so great to have you, Kyle. My goodness, you are a star. Really. I mean, so many people look up to you for all the online publications and the good advice you give. So I feel very privileged that you take the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. So, hi, Kyle.
Hey, look, guys, thanks a million. You're making me blush. I don't know if you can see on here. It's my pleasure to help our trade compliance community, and not only trade compliance people, those who also don't understand our world. And the idea really, it remains the same, is just to help one other person, right? If we can help one other person in any capacity, we should consider it a win.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't think we need the introductions because everybody watching this must know you, but maybe we'll start a little bit talking about the journey in customs and trade compliance. Then we'll move on to the business. This is going to be a business focused session, right? We're not going to talk theoretical. We're going to talk about the real stuff that businesses need to know, need to do, and the top tips that you can give with so many years of experience. So start a little bit talking about yourself, then into the business, into the nitty-gritty customs, risks, audit, and compliance. Then I want to talk to you about trade compliance as a business advantage, which is, some people would say is slightly odd because complying can never be really a business advantage. It's a cost factor above all, so they say. So let's see what you say about that. And then we'll wrap up with your vision. And I have a cheeky question on LinkedIn, on LinkedIn growth, because you are all over this, and so I can't help it. I need to get to the good stuff. So that's the kind of the plan. So why don't we get started, if you don't mind? You've built a strong reputation in customs and global trade compliance while making highly technical trade topics, customs topics broadly accessible, especially with a focus on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn publications, they're excellent. They're so great explainers. So starting us off really easily, what drew you into all this, into the world of customs and trade? What was it?
Great question. And it wasn't by design, right? I didn't wake up one day and say, I want to, be in this amazing world of solving customs and global supply chain problems. I literally boarded an airplane from the States. I was living in the States for a while. I'm originally from South Africa. And I said, I'm sick of studying things that don't excite me or make me happy. I'm going to take a year off and go back to South Africa. And I started working for a very small customs brokerage freight forwarding agent. And basically the rest is history. I believe the reason why I was drawn to it so much is because of the reasons of problem solving, right? Every different aspect in the supply chain, from the logistics to the carrier, to the courier, to the goods, to the value, to the origin, to the documentation, to the jurisdiction, is all like a problem to be solved, right? And if you remove one of them, it's like when you play, what's the game with the blocks where you pull out it's like little wooden blocks.
Yeah.
Like Jenga, right? Jenga.
Yes, that's
right.
I was just thinking, what was it called?
Yeah, you pull out a block, right?
That's it. And then it all crumbles if you don't pay attention. But if you do, it looks pretty neat and pretty
right.
neat.
And I got like I think I started like identifying with, the ability to help, which I'm very passionate about, and the ability to help companies, deliver life-saving drugs into like the middle of Africa, right? Wow. Like that's one of the key accounts that I started with was vaccines and medicines, and I handled that account. Yeah. And so something like that, like really, really excited me. And then I got to help companies like Rolex, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, which was also, really exciting. So yeah, ultimately, to cut a very long story short, it wasn't by design, but I think my passion for problem solving has kept me in here. And also something worth mentioning, at about year 7 or 8, like I was contemplating going to a different industry completely. I was just going to change, because I was like, I'm doing all of this work, it's for nothing, I don't see the benefits anymore, and it's late nights and no reward. And like anything, things take time, and I'm very glad that I stuck with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really insightful comment. Problem solving and sticking with it. Sometimes it gets very intense, especially when things are en route and they get stuck, and then they need to be unstuck, and then really you become a problem solver. And it is managing. This is why I always say there's so many skills that are needed beyond the technical knowledge. You are at the middle of everything. They come running to you when it's almost too late, when it's stuck and they can't unstuck it. So you need to calm them down. Then you need to explain. So many, that you could probably link customs to a psychology study, and that will be interesting.
Also, something that I feel very passionate about is communication, and this is one thing that global trade compliance and customs people don't do very well.
Yes,
right. We're not by, I don't really know. We're just not very good communicators, right? So we're subject matter experts, and we can do really great things, but our ability to communicate the importance of our function and how we can contribute to the other overall supply chain, we're very, very poor at doing that. And oftentimes we see things as too black and white, and that message isn't really received well if you're looking at, CFOs, COOs, other stakeholders that you need to convince to buy into what you're trying to sell, which is compliance, which isn't sexy. But, to your comment that you made earlier, the compliance is an enabler for revenue generation in some aspects. It ensures your production can remain producing, right? Because I've seen like 50-cent labels hold up like a $250,000 production line.
Yeah.
Just because someone forgot the country of origin on the invoice.
Nice. It's really interesting, because to pick up on one of your points, the soft skills, where is it? How come that we are told, and those that are now learning of the craft of customs, learn about classification, learn about origin, learn about valuation, but nobody says soft skills, right? And as much as you might be a customs expert in, and you can classify from morning to evening, unless you can communicate, unless you have leadership, management skills, convincing skills, negotiation skills, you cannot proceed, because you will be in front of a government at Monday morning's audit, and you have to explain. And so I get your point completely, and it's worthwhile mentioning that soft skills in customs are almost as important as the technical skills.
And definitely, like, I'd also just add to that as well. If you want to progress in your career, these soft skills matter more, I would say, than the hard skills. And I've often said, every day is a learning day for me. But over the last couple of years, I've made it a priority of mine to try articulate and communicate better. And that's the only thing that's really changed in my career over the past 3 or 4 years, is my ability to effectively communicate my ideas and what I need or want from the business. That really has separated my years of knowledge. So for me, the reason why I've been able to advance, I believe, is not because I'm fundamentally know something more than someone else in classification or origin, and it's just because I've become more of an effective communicator. And that's really the key differentiator between me and some of my colleagues. There are definitely people out there that can classify way better than me, understand origin way better than me, that understand global trade and customs way better than me, for sure, 100%. I'd say the difference maybe is that I'm able to better articulate than they can.
Right. And that's one of the first time I heard that as a deciding factor, as a crucial factor. And it's really good to work this out, I think. Let us move to, because I've got loads of questions for you. So in the structure of my preparations here, you have worked in customs and global trade for 15 years, and I'm asking you about, and I ask this to everyone really, what's the one thing, what is the one major shift in customs and international trade that you would say have had the biggest impact on customs in all of your career? If you think back and you had to pick one thing that where you said, wow, that really mattered to business, what was it?
Audit.
Really? Why?
Because I can sit here and I can show you that I'm a company with a million processes, a million SOPs.
Mhm.
I understand. I have Kyle, who's a classification expert. I have
Yep.
Arne, who's a what ex Amazon, ex Google, ex Porsche, who understands global trade compliance. And I can have all of these nice things that look really, really nice. But if I pick up the bonnets and see there's only rust, then it's all smoke and mirrors, right? And you can tell me that you have a good trade compliance program. I say, show me your data. I will audit your data and I'll really show you where your trade compliance lies, right? And every company that I've gone to and I've audited, the stories remain the same. So I'm not just saying this, oh, I went to one company and I audited. No. Every single company that I have either worked for, been a part of, or helped contribute to their success, it's all started with fundamentally auditing their documentation, auditing their data, auditing every capacity that you can think of. If we just look at it from a trade compliance perspective, okay, well, let's audit the data. Are we valuing the things in the correct manner that's setting us up for success and that's not leaving us exposed? Are we classifying our items correctly and accurately? When we're making origin determinations, are we doing this correctly and accurately? And to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, we're doing it wrong. And this is not specific to any company or sector in particular. It's across the globe, everywhere in the world. And you could say, well, how? I think the numbers don't lie. Every company that I have at least been involved with in some capacity, we have improved their compliance significantly across all three across aspects: classification, valuation, and origin, efficiency, to supplier relationships, to documentation practices, and the list goes on. And then also, like, when you want to speak to stakeholders, like recovering and saving millions, right? Like certain stakeholders don't want to hear, oh, we're classifying products right and we correct. They don't care. They don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
We want to say, are we able to protect the margin? Are we able to improve the margin? What have you done about it? So this is how I would say it. We've been misclassifying items, which means nothing to you. But by the way, on this certain SKU, we have improved the margin by 2.5% because we are now classifying the product correctly. We avoid paying 250,000 euros extra in duties on this item because we've classified quickly. Oh, and wait, next time customs come and visit, we're not going to have a problem because we're doing things right. No penalties. Don't worry, we can sleep good at night.
So are you saying we're back to communication here? Are you saying that in order to communicate effectively, and we're going away from the audit for a moment, is rather than saying, oh, we're doing this wrong, you say, well, this is how you improve your bottom line, and this is how you improve your your smooth supply chain operations. So rather than saying this is a bad origin mistake, you say, well, if we did this that way, then our profit margin would increase and our supply chain would go more smooth and faster.
100%.
Is that how you spin it?
Yeah, exactly. And I'd even go a step further, is I would rather frame it, instead of saying, hey, we're saving, I would say we avoid losing, because the human psyche feels loss way more than we feel gains.
FOMO. Okay, get it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
We're going to get super, super technical.
So I can imagine how you can get someone to agree letting you audit them, and they would actually love it when nobody else would say yes to audit. The way you spin it will probably make me open the door and say, oh yes, please come in, the data's all yours, the way you're phrasing it. So that's
right.
Interesting.
And I think also there's something that we need to just highlight here as well, which is a topic that I do believe people do like to talk about a lot, is just poor data quality, right? And in order to like really audit a business, you really need to understand the business. It's not just like looking at data saying, okay, well, I see you classify SKU 84 whatever, and I see you've now classified 74. That's like a quick data fix, right? I can see the data is different. But sometimes when you're looking at that data and say, okay, actually on the surface it looks right, chapter 84, what the description, but I know when I was walking in the warehouse and speaking to that engineer that this product actually isn't classified correctly. Let me get the drawing. Let me do my reconnaissance. Let me do my due diligence. Oh, hang on a second. This is not even in the right chapter.
Yeah.
In order to really audit the business, you really need to be embedded to understand how the products work, how the engineering works, how the supply chain works, so you can ask intelligent questions of the data that you're reviewing.
So would you say the You talked about data quality being essential here. Is the way to approach it to say, okay, I'm going to review your classification, I'm going to review your origin, I'm going to review your valuation, and do you know how to classify? And this is is the process, the GIRs, the various bits and pieces, the methodologies and whatnot. Or do you say, do you know what? All I need is your data. Just check the data quality. So are you zooming in on the data quality and you say that is what drives everything? Or are you saying, let's look at classification first, then we look at valuation, then we look at origin? Or is all connected and all needed, because data is a key part of it, but process and procedures are also a part of it? Does that make any sense, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. It's a very good question and very valid, right? But it's also like asking you how long is a piece of string, right? It's going to the answer to that question will definitely depend on where the business is at and what do they prioritize, right? So meaning for them, is it like, hey, we just want to make sure that our data integrity is up to scratch? Then it'll be a data exercise, right? If it's a combination of the two, it's different. And that's the unique thing about global trading customs. There's not one size fits all. What might be good for my business might not necessarily be good for your business, but maybe you can take some of the good things that I speak about in my business and copy them in your business. And ultimately, it's always going to come down to, as a group, as a function, and as a company, what do we want to prioritize? It's never just a me decision. I can always say, hey, look, this is based on my recommendation that I believe we should follow. And then ultimately it's about getting the other stakeholders to buy into that story. And again, it goes back into the other thing about communication on why this has a tremendous amount of value. I mean, I believe every audit that I've ever done has recovered more than 7 figures.
Wow. Okay. I hire you. It's okay. You can, yeah, I mean, you are completely right. I mean, if people, there's a lot to be gained here. And I like how you, how you again, you bring it back to business, something that the boardroom would like, right? Would be interested in. I will let you audit us if you bring us money back, rather than I'll let you audit so you can uncover all the gaps we have. The story is completely different. Let me maybe to move us along. There's a question I wanted to ask you about reactive firefighting to proactive compliance, which is another big theme that we could probably talk about for long. Before we do that, just to close off this customs audit piece, what do you think is the most overlooked customs risk that businesses face? I mean, if you can even say that globally, there's one thing that you would give away with anybody watching this, saying, okay, I want to be audited, but don't know what to focus on. What would be that one risk that you would point at people to? Is there one that you can point to?
Yeah. It's always classification.
Is it? Oh.
I say classification is the crux of most organizations that get wrong. And the crazy part about it is you can have super intelligent people that are given information on how to classify an item, that know how to classify an item. They classify it and even they get it wrong. And this goes back to the point that I made earlier. You really need to know your products. You really need to understand your supply chain operations. You really need to understand the functionality, because I've seen seasoned professionals. I've misclassified items because I don't have the whole picture.
Yeah, of course.
I'm based on the information that I had at hand. And also throughout my journey, I've also learned to ask more questions, right? We need to ask questions. We need to be more curious than be like, okay, this is the information. Let me just take it for gold. We need to be, as trade compliance professionals, we need to be more curious in how we go about asking those questions, and also not sound condescending when we ask the questions.
That's right. Again, communication. I can see a thread here.
For sure.
But then, of course, you're obviously inviting the obvious question, because Kyle, with all honesty, what is the need for a classifier in today's world when we have the perfect AI assistant that'll do it? I mean, I've seen demos. You've seen demos. I mean, I have classified. Have you ever tried to classify liquid collagen?
No.
I mean, 2202 or 2106. Hello, that is crazy stuff, right? And I took a while to understand whether it's water or a food supplement, but the AI Wow, immediately correct. All the BTIs, all the rulings, boom, 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 faster than I could say the word classification. Kyle, we don't need it anymore. Give up.
Yeah, it's a very in our line of work, it's a very touchy subject.
Well, if not now, when?
I've been an advocate for it for a long time. It's just how it's going to happen. Why would I spend hours doing something when I can spend minutes doing something? I mean, the ROI. Why would I? You have 10 people classifying, 10 products, for 10 different regions. Why not leverage the tool to have a greater output, and then take those 10 experts and then just audit randomly the outputs, some of the outputs, right? So you have more output, quicker output, faster, and then you can just audit. You can do a self audit of the AI and how it arrived at that conclusion. And then if it's wrong, you just go back and you teach it to be better. Let's just take a pause there. Fundamentally, if I hire someone for a job and they mess up, it's not their fault. It's my fault for not teaching them.
Yep.
The same with the AI, right? So my job as a leader and as a manager is to give you the tools, educate you, teach you, so you can be the best that you can be. Of course, it takes some give, like the person also has to come to the party, yes, but let's just push that aside. If I don't teach you how to do the job properly and you fail, it's not your fault. It's my fault for not teaching you. The same with the AI, right? So like the AI, we need to teach it. It gets better. The more information we give it, the more et cetera, we give it, the more it learns, the better it becomes. And eventually we should be able to teach it so great that it should be able to do our job.
Right.
We'll just leave it at there, really.
Okay, I think we need another conversation one time just on that topic, hey? That's for the future. Good. I mean, super interesting, your thoughts on this. Something that we can't walk away from. That's something that is already happening right now, and we need to navigate it. So we need a serious reflection, not you and me, but the whole industry, the whole profession needs a genuine, good reflection on what is this, and how do we use it effectively without compromising on compliance, security, and have the proper guardrails. But that's for another day, maybe. The one thing, one trend that I see very much in my line of work is when we get these calls from people that are in dire need because things have gone wrong, and we are at this point where we are firefighting constantly. People are very stressed because it's reactive firefighting to things that happen that they didn't even know was happening in the business. And there is the other school of thought that flips it, that says, no, that's not how we can work. Customs cannot be the last thing you see. Customs has to be the first thing not the first thing, but very early on in the planning. I'm thinking about proactive compliance, and I'm thinking about think customs when you design your supply chain.
Right.
Would you agree with that? How do you deal with that when people say, oh, it's just customs? How do you get the mind shift switch from a reactive thing that is at the end of the supply chain to moving it much more further to the strategic planning?
Yeah, I think the first part that we need to address is, for some reason, we have glorified firefighting. Like, look at this problem that I was able to solve. Like, it was amazing. I got this shipment through customs and X, Y, Z. But when you're reactive, you always end up second. I actually watched a video today. I watched a video today where a gentleman, they both had that. So you were standing on your side, and I'm standing on my side, right? And your hand was lower than my hand, right? And I said to you, you need to react to grab the bottle on the ground, right? So you had to react, and you have to go on my hand. The guy that was obviously making the decisions could always grab the bottle before the other person, because the other person was being reactive, right? The point here, whenever you're reactive, you always are going to miss out on the opportunities, and it's always going to redevelop. It's like weeding, right? You weed one week and the weeds come up the next week because we're being more reactive. How do we put together something where it's far more proactive? And this is something that I preach a lot in my posts, is we need to remove being reactive to proactive, because when we're being proactive, we see the playing field a lot better. We're thinking strategically. We're thinking in the best interests of not only our department, the business, the stakeholders, the overall operations, and we're able to identify the gaps. we're able to put resources to the things that actually matter and that is actually going to move the needle, and that's actually going to have a positive impact on the business, as opposed to just running with chickens with no head, like their heads cut off all over the place and making noise.
I agree with you, but I challenge you because I am all up for that. I'm all up for being proactive and whatnot, but I'm part of a business, and the business, some say, business doesn't tell me. They only come to me when it's late in the day, and when it's too late. I want to be proactive, but I'm not privy to the planning stage. What do I do?
I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with that, and you and I can both agree with it, right? The fundamental of the entire operations is built on shaky legs, and this is most organizations. And yes, that's a fair point. But I can still take historical data on, let's say, every time there's been a firefight. Me as a compliance professional, I could say, hey, listen, every time there's a fire, let's just log it. Let's just log it, right? Log it here, the date that it happened, what happened, some details, emails, whatever, and then I can say, okay, fine. We've logged it for 3 months. I can now say, okay, I see these 5 problems reoccurring. They need to be strategic and let this not happen again. So even if I'm not with planning or put in, when I should be put in from a trade compliance and customs perspective, there's still things that I can do to circumvent some of these reoccurring issues, because I can label them. It's always a classification issue with this product from this supplier. It's always this supplier that has bad paperwork. It's always these shipments that get stopped. It's always and you can develop patterns, right? So being in global trade, there is lots of patterns when you have the data. And sometimes I don't have the data. That's fine. Manually log it. There's really no excuse.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Yeah. Good idea. Think about that. And it actually moves us on quite nicely to the next kind of blog that I wanted to touch upon. And that was trade compliance as a business advantage. And I want to really get a bit more deeper on that. As we said, and when, the reactive part and the misunderstanding around customs comes when businesses see customs compliance as paperwork and a cost center, really, where you're hired because they kind of need someone to kind of get this off our back. Is that kind of talk. But that doesn't get us anywhere in a super interconnected AI-infused world where it's already too late for whatever you are planning to do. It's usually already too late. So why do you believe trade compliance can actually be a competitive advantage?
Well, if we just look at the financial, right? So when we say competitive advantage, there has to be an ROI, return on investment.
Sure.
And if I am classifying my products correctly, it ultimately means I'm probably protecting the margin of that product. And if my competitor has the same product but is misclassifying it and paying more duties, I'm therefore more competitive than them. If we just think of it as simple as that, right? Yep. If we think of it, okay, I'm sourcing a product from Costa Rica to the EU, and I'm paying import duties. Oh, wait, there's actually a preferential trade program. I can give 0%. So what used to cost us 250,000 euros a year is now costing us 0. Right. So if we look at competitiveness, we're looking at, okay, how effective can we be? How efficient can we be? And how profitable can we be? Those are the 3 pillars, right? And in order to show why we are important, amongst a lot of other things, I'll go into mitigation in a second, but let's just talk hard facts numbers. Trade compliance is able to save you a ton of money. How? By properly classifying items, by properly valuing items, by availing of preferential customs programs, inward processing, outward processing, free trade agreements, bonded warehousing, and FTZs, whatever you want to call it in your local jurisdiction. And this helps protect not only the bottom line, it also helps improve the margin, which also helps you be more competitive. Okay. And then we go, okay, that's all great. Now you've saved us millions, and ultimately a trade compliance department should be paying for itself with profit. I also believe that trade compliance people should be incentivized like salespeople are incentivized. Maybe a talk for another time.
I like to talk like that.
So you have a department, let's say, saving you €1 million a year. Let's rephrase it. You have a department that's avoiding you paying an extra €1 million a year because they're doing their job properly. And then you have, okay, so that's the how I'm going to sell it to the other stakeholders. When it comes into like governance, our law department, how do we make sure we can remain effective and efficient? By having a well-run trade compliance and customs programs, I can also stick to my promise date as for my customers. Meaning, if I say, hey, I'm going to have this product through production and delivered to you by next week Wednesday, but it's stuck at customs, next week Wednesday is no longer a thing. Now I'm diminishing and eating away at my reputation with my customer. Mm-hmm. So if you have a well-trained customs department and trade compliance department, meaning when things come through customs, it's just going to flow. There's going to be no stops, no questions asked. 9 times out of 10, yes, sometimes things get stopped. It's outside of our control. So you're able to maintain your reputation with your customers. You're also establishing a good reputation with customs because you are best in class, for lack of better words, with your compliance. They see you taking it seriously. And then there's the risk mitigation piece, meaning everything is above board. We will stand up to scrutiny. Customs come and audit us, it's fine. Or alternatively, customs can come audit you and paint a picture of what a mockery your service is and fine millions, right? And then you're like, okay, well now we need, and oftentimes people only take customs seriously once they've been fined.
Wow.
Right. So that's also something that, a lot of companies only start to, hire trade compliance professionals or fire them or whatever when the shit hits the fan. Excuse my language.
Mm. Unfortunately, I share your opinion. So looking into what we can do, and thank you for explaining why customs is actually, or trade compliance is a competitive advantage. There is one thing that's linked to it and that hampers it, that makes it difficult for customs to be as effective as it can be, and that's siloed thinking. And that's the silos within a company. We have procurement, we have finance, we have logistics teams, and you ought to think that all operate in sync, but often they don't, and that is a big issue, because customs sits at the middle of absolutely everything. So what is the one strategy we need to think about here? I mean, how can procurement, finance, logistics teams, how can they work together to reduce compliance failures? Is there a top tip that you can give to people?
Well, we'll go back to the first one, communication, right? And articulating the value. That's the first one, which is, the obvious one for me, but also understanding that it's more of a marathon than a sprint, because a lot of the people that might be hearing this today are already knee deep in their operations, right? So changing it overnight isn't going to be easy, but it's about getting with the relative stakeholders within those departments and those teams and those organizations, and really having a powwow, for lack of better words, and letting them understand that, hey, by leveraging the customs and trade team, this is how they can benefit, not how I can benefit. So putting it in their best interest, right? So oftentimes we're like, oh, well, we can be compliant, blah, blah, blah. But that bores people. If you're able to articulate what you do that benefits them, right? So let's say procurement, they have KPIs and say, okay, this is how we can make sure that we adhere and help support your KPIs. Get with the finance team. This is how we can help support your KPIs. Operations, this is how we can help support your KPIs. This is one way that I have felt has worked pretty well when you speak to what their goals are and able to articulate and communicate your ability from a trade function and how it can positively impact their goals and their ambitions as a department.
You're supporting them. In fact, you're telling them why collaboration and cooperation can help them achieve their goals. That's pretty clever. Great. And at the same time, it helps you. That's great. I mean, again, it's communication. The theme of today is communication, because you're at the crossroad of absolutely everything. We should send every customs official on a communication course, I think. Okay, look, mindful of the time, and I know you have such a busy schedule. Let us crack on with 2 more things, and then I'll let you go for sure. One is I can't let you go without thinking about the future, right? So we are at the cusp, I think they say in English, of a modern customs reform, right? Like the biggest shakeup of customs in the European Union since ever. We're talking data hub, we're talking customs authority, we're talking customs acting as one. We're talking about doing a 27 IT system, no more Atlas, no more Delta, no more AIS, AES, just one. I mean, this must be a dream come true for you, isn't it?
Look, I think my job as a professional is to not speculate on what the future is, but it's more to understand what's currently happening here and now,
Mhm.
and be prepared for what's ever going to happen in the future. So I think, understanding this is probably pretty interesting, an interesting topic for a lot of people to understand, and understand how this might impact their business and their business model. But however, I feel like my core focus now is how can I help you today, and in helping you today, hopefully that's preparing you for the future.
And that works with looking into the future, at least, what might be in the future, might be ahead. How does that influence what you do today? So if it's all about data, wouldn't the normal consequence be mindful of what may lay ahead, that we're back to data cleansing, we're back to data integrity, data completeness, accuracy, timeliness?
We're back to the fundamentals. That's exactly what it is. We overlook the fundamentals and everything. I mean, just like my son started playing football the other day, well, for a while now, and he's 6. And I see all the kids doing all these tricks and things that they see on YouTube,
Hmm.
which fundamentally has nothing to do when they step on the field,
Mhm.
right? The guy can't even receive a ball and put it into space to set himself up for the next one. He's too busy trying to do clicks and tricks. So just like anything, get really, really, really good. Be great at the fundamentals, and everything else should ideally follow.
That's really great. I think that is actually a wonderful closing sentence. Um, the last part has just to do with your LinkedIn presence. And we don't really need to talk about that much, but
That's it.
I at least need to congratulate you on all the things you do, because you are posting so often and you are posting so insightful things that if anybody watching is not following you on LinkedIn, they ought to. You must spend a lot of time getting a lot of ideas and a lot of things to say, and I'm always amazed by how interesting things you post, and it makes me stop and think. So what inspires you to be so active online, and maybe how do you manage these posts being so frequent so often, and have
Yeah.
setting successful habits that keep that momentum going, and why is it important to do so? Why is it important to you?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there. I'll go with fundamentally why is it important to me? Because there was a point in my career where I was like, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. I was also afraid, being a trade compliance professional, to ask the questions because I'm fear of looking dumb. I don't fear that anymore. I'll ask a question and look stupid. So the idea really is to help the one person that might be curious, might not understand, or might not know where to look, right? And a few other things. So it's really and honestly just to help one other person, and that's been my mission from day one. It's never been about chasing the likes and the comments and the reshares and the saves or whatever you may call it. It's always been about how can I give as much value to someone and help them along their journey. And that journey doesn't have to necessarily be for a trade compliance person. I try and do my posts in such a way that if you are someone that works in procurement and happens to wear multiple hats, you can perhaps take the information and say, okay, I can perhaps use this. If you're in finance and you wear multiple hats, say, okay, maybe you can use this. And maybe if you're a seasoned vet but haven't been exposed to some of the things that I might have been exposed to, you're like, oh, he has a point. Maybe I can try that in my next project. How I manage it is some months there's systems, some months it's haphazard, and some months it's intentional. Being a husband, a father, and an employee, also someone that's quite physically active. It needs to be planned at the best of times, right? And I mean, the last couple of weeks I have been a bit more quiet, but I'm working on some of my own personal goals, just personally, helping DGF, spread their word, and trying to get embraced in their culture and their community and their brand, and really bring it up to speed with that. But like in absolutely anything you do in life, consistency is key. Showing up every day, regardless of the weather, regardless of how you feel, or regardless if someone said something negative. You're doing this for you, you're helping other people, and that remains front and center. Consistency is absolutely key. And that's really how I believe I developed, the brand that I've been able to develop. I also said that when I first started out on this journey, I believe it was maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, can't even remember now. I said to myself, I'm going to give this 6 months. I'm going to post every single day for 6 months.
Wow.
And I think I posted every single day for 5 months. And then I went on holiday and I was like, bugger that. But I posted every day for 5 months. And I said to my wife at some point, I was like, our life is going to change. And like, how is that? Like, I started getting invited to speaking events all over the world. People were asking me lots of questions. I was helping a lot of people. A lot of things were happening. People reaching out to me, like practically offering me jobs. And I felt very, very blessed, and all because I said I was going to post every single day. And I encourage absolutely everyone, just say what's on your mind. If you did something really cool today and you fixed a problem, like, post about it, because there's someone out there that you might just help, right? And there's great satisfaction out of helping people. And I've always said, like, I would like to help people. How do I help people at scale? There's only a few ways. By joining a company, you're only helping that. If you're joining an importer and exporter, you're only helping that company, right? So meaning all the other companies aren't availing of your expertise, for lack of better words, like your insights, right? So that only company gets to shield yours. Or you start out and go out on your own, which is a great idea. But you also only have so many hours in the day, and you can only see so many customers, and with so many problems, right? And depending on your availability, you can also only help so many. There's another way. You can join a tech company, right? And that tech can be embedded into multiple customers across the world, and therefore you're helping a lot of customers across the world. Or you can join a giant like DGF and help thousands of customers all over the world, right? So again, it was my reason for joining DGF. A few other reasons, but it was to really to use what I know to help as many people.
Explain DGF to anyone who's not familiar.
So it always gets wrapped into like the DHL brand, right? So DHL is this massive conglomerate that we always see, the DHL vans and the symbol. It's like a brand staple, but it often gets roped in with like the DHL Express. But DGF is like your Expeditors. It's like your cream pickles. It's like your Schenkers. It's completely separate, right? And they also put a lot of emphasis on customs and customs brokerage, and actually one of the largest customs brokers in the world. So they also largest customs brokers in the world as a standalone product, meaning from a customs brokerage, they don't handle the logistics, anything. They just do the customs brokerage. And I feel very proud to be part of a growing brand that is so internationally recognized and is really helping customers bring data, reporting, front and center, and helping companies make intelligent business decisions. It's something that really excites me.
That's really nice, really nice. And I think you are the perfect fit for it, right? And the one thing I'll say about the posts again is that why this is so great, and I am amazed because I open LinkedIn, and in particular LinkedIn gives me so much. I mean, so many updates, so many things to download. I could spend a lot of time there just seeing the news about what it does. It gives reflection, it gives insights into people that you'd honestly either have no access to or you'd pay a lot of money to hear. And this is so important for compliance in general. It doesn't help the large companies. I mean, large companies, they can hire people like you and me, but the small ones, the suppliers, the ones that that do the essential service that we rely on, the SMEs, they are so grateful, grateful for the things that you do and that so many others do. And it's a little shame to me that we can't take all of that information together and put it into some kind of book or something. I mean, if we put all of your posts together and make a book out of it, that would be the most insightful thing I've ever seen.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
With that said, the time's up and you got to go back to your declarations and compliance. And I cannot be more than thankful. It was so great to speak to you. This has been on my bucket list for a long time. And so I personally feel super grateful that I spent this time with you. And the final thoughts are with you before we pass it back to Anne Karen. So as always, you have the final things you want to say to this interview. Thank you very much from my side. And then Anne Karen, you can end it after Kyle has completed his last thoughts. So last words for you, Kyle, from you.
No, again, thank you so much for having me. It's always a good time speaking about what I feel truly passionate about. And fundamentally, if we end it, that when it comes to global trade, we have a tendency to overcomplicate a very complicated math subject already. Go back to getting the fundamentals right from the first time, understanding that it's not the classification that's probably holding you back. It's probably your communication and your ability to effectively communicate. And audits, like your life depends on it.
Wow. I'm so grateful because this is something that we really needed to talk about communication. And now it practically comes back to you, the way you have been posting. It just says a lot about you. You're so communicating, and we appreciate that you are here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And if we have any other subject going ahead, I really hope that you can join us again. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you so much, Annie, for the crowding questions. And have a perfect evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Kyle. Great to see you.
Likewise. Cheers.
Bye.